Hello and welcome to Shadow Patch Notes, the series where we take the latest patch and discuss all the hidden tweaks and changes that didn't quite make the spotlight. If you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and stick around until the end of the video to see how you can win a Cutter Scout with LTI. Alright, let's jump right in. We'll start with the biggest lesson that this PTU cycle has taught us. Crash to desktop recovery seems to be working very well. Better than ever, actually. During the insane amount of CTDs I experienced, we pretty much always loaded back in right where we disconnected at. Really awesome stuff. This is extra nice when you consider that players can no longer server swap when they combat log or crash to desktop. That's right. Alt F4 enjoyers, your time is up. Mission items like tablets are now highlighted in the inventory. This can be seen during missions like the new data heist ones. These data heist missions are looking very profitable, but also quite difficult. You can find them in the personal tab on your Mobi. They come in tiers, starting with the entry level mission, which pays 30k and acts as the tutorial. The max level data grab has a payout of 500 grand, but you're going to need a group for these, as you have to be in multiple places at once to keep the operation running. Be sure to knock out the comm array before starting, unless you want to deal with a CS5. A new crypto key was added to the verse, the Funt crypto key. This seems to be faster and more efficient than the base Tiger Claw. The Talon received a pretty brutal nerf, similar to what happened with the Cartual recently. A huge decrease to total Gs leads to quite the performance hit here. Okay, now on to the big ticket item of the patch, Ship Tractor Beams. This update opened up a world of gameplay opportunities, and as you can imagine, edge cases galore. For example, if a player is wearing a backpack, you can actually lock onto it. Ships that have their shields and engines disabled can be grabbed with a tractor beam and moved around at will. This ability will vary based on the size of your beam. If you dig deep enough into the refinery terminal, you will see that replacement tractor beam attachments are available for purchase. The tractor beams can be split into 3 groups: cargo beams, salvage beams, and tow beams. The tractor beam types are not interchangeable, and a ship needs to have tractor beam functionality for it to work, meaning that you cannot just place a tractor beam on the turret of any ship. You also cannot replace the cargo tractor beam of a C1 to be a tow beam. The only clear benefit of upgrading at the moment appears to be the Vice Lock beam, which currently offers a slightly shorter range for a slightly larger angle. The tractor beam UI is really nice and tells you the name of what you're tractoring, the weight, and gives you a tension indicator in case you whip it too fast. Hold left Alt plus scroll wheel to adjust your distance, and press Q to turn off V-Joy for a little better control. Now you're ready to haul with the best of them. The new Crusader C1 is in and looking sleek. It was the first functional version of the tractor beams we got in our hands. The turret retracts just like on the A1, and you get a clear view of the entire bay. The C1 can even pull out its own components. Theoretically, a co-pilot could pull the ship out of QT mid-jump for some quality trolling. This ship is marketed as a Cutlass competitor, much like the upcoming RSI Zeus mentioned at CitizenCon. Here's a little size comparison between the C1 and the Cutlass for scale. The C1 has similar stats to the Cutty, yet there are enough pros and cons to each to make it a considerable decision to make. Which would you prefer? CIG also managed to retroactively fit all legacy ships with their tractor beams as well, including the tried and true Cutlass Black. The beam on the Cutlass is accessed via the co-pilot seat, on the left side of the center MFD. This is probably the worst implementation of the beam at the time of this recording, as the view is entirely obstructed, rendering the tool useless for the time being. CIG is going to have to either redesign the back of the ship here, or simply have the tractor beam extend downward upon entering it. Keeping on brand for a moment, we also saw updates to the Drake Caterpillar. The Cat beam seems fairly powerful, and we were able to move around decent-sized ships like the Vulture with ease. The ship also received an extra beam located under the command module. This was actually a significant placement decision, as the command module is intended to detach from the rest of the ship and fly around independently, once modularity comes online. Using this module would make loading cargo a very fun experience, and would operate similarly to the 315p experience of loading other ships. Speaking of which, the 315p looks like it doesn't have a remote turret at all. As a result, it is unable to load its own cargo. For this reason, it's more of a tool for relocating ships, and moving debris around. You can press M to activate the beam, and G to gimbal it. Miners rejoice! You can now move broken pieces of mineable asteroids with ship tractor beams. Although fresh asteroids cannot be moved until you crack them. Both of the handheld tractor beams work for this as well. Now you can move all the junk out the way of your juicy ore. You can even move broken rocks planet-side too.
Yo! Let's fucking go!
It appears you cannot put these rocks inside of ships, however, but this may likely change in the future. The Nomad remote turret is one of the cleaner ones in the game. It's located on the left-hand side of the console under the open exterior button. Once inside, you'll be pleasantly surprised to see the great positioning of the beam, with very efficient loading and unloading clearance. The Constellation Taurus tractor beam is in and it looks great. Although it's a little late to the party, it has the best positioning for self-loading and unloading of all the ships in my opinion. Here's hoping for that Cutty rework sometime soon. Any day now. Salvage got some really nice improvements as well. The Vulture received a tasty update to its UI, as well as all new options for laser heads. You can now switch between two different sets of beams. By default, it's 2 cinches on top, which I recommend changing to abrades. And for the second set, you have an abrade accompanied by a tractor beam head on the left. This is perfect for rotating the ship with one hand while you scrape with your other. It's also going to be very handy for the structural salvage, which is now slated for release by the end of this year. These tractor beam heads are found on the Reclaimer as well. As a side note, the salvage filler station cargo improvements from the Pyro build are not in 3.21.1, but will most likely be coming out in a near future patch. Just to give a little more info on these beams, you can press Alt 2 or 3 depending on what side your tractor is on to use that arm. In the case of the default loadout, pressing Alt 2 will let you control just the tractor beam. Then you can press Alt 3 and it will switch from the abrade to the cinch and back again. When you're ready, you can press Alt 1 to switch back to having both arms on at the same time. Finally, there was an error in the last video when mentioning the salvage cargo nerfs being in effect. However, it seems like the change has come in this time around. As always, keep your eyes peeled as this is subject to change. Rounding out our ship info, we have the star of 3.21.1, the Argo SRV. This baby is supporting the most powerful tractor beam in the game, allowing it to pull ships through quantum travel. In fact, the SRV seems to be able to tow just about everything, except for the Reclaimer for some reason. You can simply press the fire button to instantly use the tractor beam on the SRV. Multiple SRVs are able to tow one vehicle, although it isn't really practical. Argo SRV also has 10 SU of cargo underneath it. Onto the FPS side of things, we have the new Max Lift Tractor Beam Rifle. This new piece of equipment looks amazing the moment you hold it in your hands. It's very powerful, and it costs 19k to buy at refinery decks. The size of crates that can be lifted by the multi-tool appears to be based on actual weight of the box, and not standardized by SCU container size. For example, here we can lift a 32 SCU container of scrap, whereas some other commodities are too heavy to lift at 32 SCU. The Max Lift Tractor Beam Rifle, however, does seem to be able to move every 32 SCU container that you try. The Tractor Beam Rifle can throw small ground vehicles around, but it cannot move big ones like the Ballista. You can also lift small ships with it like the Arrow, and drag bigger ones around like the Prospector. These new tractor beam changes allow for multiple tractor beams to affect a single item and allow multiple players to manipulate the same object. This means that multiple beams on a single object will yield more power, and together, you can lift things you otherwise wouldn't have been able to. Lift up, lift up. Oh shit, it works! It works! Oh shit, that is sick, bro! You can also transfer items between each other without letting go. Lots of great changes for the tractor beams. The Siege of Orison event will be returning with some great new improvements. On top of the Squadron 42 AI improvements, like AI looting their teammates, they also added official support for PvPers in Siege, adding mission dialogue for Xenothreat sympathizers, and a mission marker over those players' heads. Should make for an interesting dynamic this time around. I even gave it a shot for your viewing pleasure. I want to test the new sympathizer thing, okay? Long live Xenothreat, bitch! You can now purchase SCU containers at refinery decks as well. These boxes are open storage, and will likely be used for the cargo container update slated for 3.22. For now, you are unable to pull these out and physically place them onto your ship. Now, you probably know that a few patches ago, they made a change to where you can only grab your free sperm suit from inside the medical area if you respawn. But did you know that this does the same thing for your gear if you die in Armistice? I randomly checked and found a few kits in here myself. Sometimes repairing the Cutter Scout may give you the base Cutter engine as a replacement. Kinda funny. Ship Trespass, aka the Stand Your Ground law, is now active in Star Citizen. Those players entering a vehicle they are not allowed to will see a warning, notifying them that they are trespassing on another player's private property. Whenever a player sees this warning, they should know that they can be legally attacked and killed should they remain. When trespassers are killed, they do not receive a crime and are not sent to prison by default. Unless of course they are already a criminal. The ship owner will not receive any penalty for killing a trespasser either.
This also accounts for you as the ship owner following the intruder back to their ship, where you'll be able to hunt them without fear of getting a crime stat yourself.
The edge cases for ships inside of ships was also covered here, so they did a pretty good job on this one. Vehicle headlights received the standardizing refractor across the board. They are now separated into sizes and provide better lighting accordingly. This is a nice step up from the randomness we had before. This patch introduces radar ground sensitivity changes, so different radars can see ground vehicles from different ranges. This includes a full balance pass on ground vehicle emissions, and also adds the ability for ground vehicles using missile operator mode to target lock other ground vehicles. The Tumbril Nova tank also received some improvements to its movement. I imagine a lot of these changes have come in the wake of the Tank Royale game mode. The new player tutorial has moved, and is now on New Babbage. It has some nice updates too, such as visual prompts in the UI, and they finally added instructions to put on your helmet. The city also received a bunch of sweet updates to the city signage, including IAE banners, and some graffiti that reads, "Don't buy alien." Likely a reference to the leaked Gatak ship that is rumored to be straight to flyable this year. Oh, and New Babbage residents will be pleased to know that they finally fixed the most egregious bug in the city. Sweet relief. It seems all the major cities have finally discovered anti-glare glass coating is a thing. No more bright reflections in your face at the ASOP terminals. The CitizenCon demo for Squadron 42 revealed multiple new variants for the enormous Bengal carrier. No word on whether or not these will find their way into the PU one day, but it was interesting to see the different forms of this beast. In one image, you can see that the Bengal on the right has two cannons on top that the normal Bengal doesn't have due to the landing ramp. We also got a look at a new Xi'an cargo ship, and also these little spider things from concept a long time ago. The Tumbril Storm is in the game. It can easily fit into the Corsair, and you can even squeeze it into the Constellation Phoenix. So 3.22 is just around the corner, slated for the end of the year. The main feature on everyone's radar is the implementation of structural salvage into the game. With this, we will be harvesting ships for refinable resources, something integral for future systems like repair, crafting, and base building. Plus, this will help us get a little bit of that persistence back by cleaning up shipwrecks ourselves. New hair is set to come in finally, and new ships scheduled include the Santoke I and the Orison X1. Although it was touted as the key feature of 3.21.1, the replication layer testing has yet to be seen. This will likely be done in the preview server first, and I wouldn't be surprised if they get this out to us in a 3.21.2 patch. And as you all know, the preview channel has been out for a while now, and Pyro is absolutely amazing. I didn't want to cover any of that in this video, but I may do a separate one once it's all said and done. And that'll do it for this episode of Shadow Patch Notes. So were any of these changes news to you? Which Tractor Beam ship is your favorite? And have you had the chance to play Pyro? Leave a comment below and let me know. And if you're interested in winning that Cutter Scout with LTI, hop on over to my Twitch channel ASAP, because we're drawing the winner live during IAE. You can find me at twitch.tv/the5star. Come on by and say hi. Alright everybody, I'll catch you on the flip flop. Peace out.